Welcome to Moms with a Call. We're not here to preach, convert, or fix you. We're here to listen.
We're McKenzie
And Rebecca, two women with messy stories, honest questions, and a quiet hope that maybe Jesus looks a lot more like love than we were ever shown. If you've ever wondered if there's a place for you in all of this, there is. Come, have a seat at the table. You're safe here. You're welcome here. Let's begin.
Welcome, Chelsea. We're so excited to have you on. Thank you for coming on the show, the
Thanks for
pod.
having me. I'm excited
Um,
to chat. I love podcasting.
I know it's so fun. All right, so we've got Chelsea Hollis. She is a wife, a mom of two. You're currently pregnant with number 3. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're a former fitness professional turned family photographer, educator, and doula. First, how do you and Rebecca know each other?
I feel like we met at a wedding years ago, right?
We
At
yeah.
Casey and Smith.
Oh, really? Okay. Before we even get in, tell us about your background, how you got to where you are, your family, all of it.
Where to begin? So I went to college here at UNCW and graduated with an exercise science degree. And honestly, I was never really someone who had a lot of career ambition, to be honest. It was just one of those things that was like, well, everyone else is going to college. I need to, and I got to figure out what the heck I'm going to do. And I kind of changed my major several times. I remember sitting at the dinner table with my parents one night and I was like, I just don't really feel like I have this career path in front of me. I would be totally fine with just being a mom one day and staying home with my babies and getting married. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. Glad that we're paying all this money for you to go to college then, if that's how you feel. But I truly just was like, I'm going to figure out what I want to do along the way. And truth be told, I went to school as a bio major thinking I was going to go to vet school. I was a horse girl growing up. Quickly realized that was not the path for me. Switched to nursing. And then when I transferred to UNCW, I used to go to ECU. Exercise science was the closest major I could do with all my prerequisites without having to fully start over. I was like, that sounds good. I'll just do that. I just kind of picked something on a whim. Ended up really loving it and using a lot of things that I learned to get myself in shape and get really healthy. And upon graduating, I landed what I thought was my dream job, working for a company called SAS in Cary, North Carolina.
Yeah.
A huge corporation. I never thought I would land a full-time fitness gig like that so early on. But I did that. I loved it. I got to be a personal trainer there. I got to coordinate lots of different fun events and teach all sorts of group fitness from Zumba to yoga and cycle and all the things. But while I was there, it was early on in my relationship with my husband. We were still dating at the time. And the hours were really crazy. The salary was nothing, but I had a full-time job with benefits, so I wasn't complaining at, the ripe age of 23. But my wheels started turning with do I want to do this forever? And when I have kids one day, do I want to have to worry about putting them in daycare and working this whole 9 to 5 life, requesting to take off work when my kid is sick? And I don't know what gave me, I know it was from the Lord looking back, but something just came into my mind that told me this is not, you're going to be here forever. And so on the side, I started my photography business, kind of picking up something I used to love when I was a kid, but was never really told it was a career option. And so I started taking sessions before and after work and on the weekends and just growing. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the time. I thought I wanted to do weddings. Did do that for quite some time. And then kind of fast forward maybe a year or so, my husband and I had really wanted to move back to Wilmington because we both went to college here, loved being near the coast. But we just didn't think it would be smart to quit our jobs without anything lined up and move, especially at the time. There was not a lot here.
Fair.
Yeah. So he ended up interviewing for a job here. And I was like, cool, well, I'm going to move with you when there's a ring on my finger. Otherwise, I'm not going to quit my job and just like move to a different city with you. And the weekend that he came here to interview for that job, he proposed to me. And
Oh,
so we got engaged. He got the job. I said, okay, we're doing this thing. We moved to Wilmington. And I was still working in the fitness world and building my business as well on the side. So I was still teaching classes at studios and another corporate gym here. And then, like, honestly, I feel like I have Wilmington to thank for this, but my business blew up really quickly here, more than I could have ever anticipated. And so I knew I had to make space to fully like go full time with it. So I quit everything else, went full time with my photography business in 2019. We got married in that fall. 2 months later, got pregnant unexpectedly. And then COVID hit right after that. So it was like quite a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was like, whoa, okay, I have 20 something weddings on my books. I'm pregnant. I got to figure out how to do all this with the rescheduling. And it was a lot. And going through all of that made me realize, okay, maybe I don't want to do weddings anymore. Like, this is a lot. It's a lot of pressure. My first year as a mom looked a lot different than I ever anticipated. And so I used like 2020 to 2022 to kind of transition out of weddings and into what I'm doing now, which is focusing primarily on families and the growth of families and, motherhood. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's how I got to where I am now, minus a few other details along the way.
It's such an interesting, I love when people kind of share their journeys, and it's just so cool that you were in fitness, went into photography, and then now you're really getting like you're perfect for the motherhood series, obviously. But that's like who you focus on. So how did you become a doula then?
So, how much do you want me to trauma dump on you? Because this is a long story here. So we hired a doula for our first birth experience. I had friends that had doulas and like spoke really highly of them. I think during my pregnancy in 2020, because the world was shut down and I like couldn't work, we didn't really have much else to do. We had just bought a house and I was just kind of hanging out all day, every day. I dove really deep into birth research. And,
Yeah.
I was always one of those people that was like, oh, well, I'm just going to go in and like go with the flow and see what happens. And like whatever the doctor tells me to do is what I'm going to do. And then I started like listening to podcasts and reading books. And I was just like all in on doing my best to have the most physiological birth possible. Like I really wanted to do it without an epidural. I really wanted everything to be as like natural as possible. So I hired a doula, especially for that reason, to kind of help me navigate all of that. And lo and behold, I ended up needing to get induced with my firstborn, Silas. Around 38 weeks, I got diagnosed with called cholestasis of pregnancy. It's kind of like a liver.
And you have the itchy hands.
Had the itchy. And weirdly, it was like, it didn't start typically on my hands and feet like you normally hear. It was like my arms, legs, and belly. And at first I thought I was having like an allergic reaction to sunscreen or something. I was like, because I had my babies in August and I was in the pool a lot. And so I was like, maybe it's too much chlorine or whatever. Anyway, I went in for the blood work because I knew the itchiness could be a symptom of that. Turned out they diagnosed me with it that day. I went in for an induction literally that day.
Oh my gosh.
Jordan was at home, ironically, prepping the house because we were getting hit with a hurricane that night. And so, like,
Of
I call
course.
him up on the way home from the OB. I'm like, so we're going to go have a baby today. And he's like, okay, this is different than I thought. We were like, well, the hospital is probably the safest place to be during a hurricane anyway.
True.
Might as well.
Yeah.
And I ended up having like a really long, intense 30-hour induction, but it went really well. And my doula was like so pivotal in helping me still achieve a lot of the goals that I wanted, even though I didn't get to go into labor naturally and I had to be induced. I still was able to do it mostly unmedicated, like other than the interventions of the induction itself. Had a really beautiful birth. But then afterwards, like I went home and everything was great. I felt amazing, was like up walking around, baby was good. But I was having some issues that weren't really like making sense where my breast milk wasn't really coming in and it was taking a lot of effort to get it to come in. And he was like losing weight, having trouble nursing, but nothing was wrong with his blatch. And I was continuously dropping like pretty large clot. This is a little TMI if you don't like to hear about blood. But, you know, when you leave the hospital, they say, call us if you drop anything bigger than a golf ball. So these definitely were. And I would call and they'd be like, okay, well, you know, do you have any other symptoms? Do you feel dizzy or nauseous or feverish or anything like that? And I was like, no. And so they just kept telling me that I was fine and sending me on my way. Looking back, COVID times, I think, contributed to how this was like so poorly handled because they were just trying to keep everybody out of the hospital as much as they could.
Yeah.
I 100% should have been seen a lot sooner. And so this is now like 2.5 weeks after I gave birth. I woke up one morning, was nursing my son, went to the bathroom, dropped like a massive clot. I mean, I'm talking like grapefruit size.
Oh my gosh.
Call the doctor. Same thing. You're totally fine. Just let us know if you start bleeding really heavily. So I'm like, okay, this doesn't seem normal, but all right.
Yeah, and
Like
2.5 weeks after, you're still dropping that large
Yeah.
clots.
Yeah. So I go
Oh
down.
my gosh.
Well, and it's your first baby too.
Right.
So you don't know
Don't
what
know.
to expect postpartum.
No.
Well, and so I knew something was like off, but I didn't know what. I didn't know how to advocate for myself at the time. And so I went downstairs and I'm nursing my baby on the couch again. And all of a sudden I look up at my husband and I'm like, I think I just peed myself. I need you to take the baby. So I get up and I go to the bathroom and it wasn't pee. I was bleeding everywhere, like starting to hemorrhage at home. So I look at him, I'm like, we need to go to the hospital right now. So we take the baby. They let us go back to triage since it was so soon after I gave birth. And of course, while I'm sitting there laying in a hospital bed, the bleeding starts to subside a little bit. And I'm trying to tell them what's going on, what's been happening. They do an ultrasound and they're like, yeah, you definitely have a lot still in your uterus, whether it's just like clotting or placenta. We don't know for sure, but it needs to come out. So they give me all these options. They're like, you know, we can either do a DNC and surgically remove it, or we can send you home with like a pill, which is kind like essentially like the abortion pill where they give you medicine to contract your uterus and, you know, get rid of what's still in
Shed
there,
all
shed it
the
out. Yeah.
extra stuff out.
You know, or we could do it manually here with some pain meds. And I was like, heck no,
Ugh.
mm-mm.
No.
So I don't really know what to do at that point because everything sounds scary. I don't know what anything entails. And they do blood work. And while we're waiting for those results to come back, I pretty much made up my mind. I would love to just have the DNC, like bring me in for the surgery, put me under, get it all out. I don't want to have to worry about like coming back later if like this pill doesn't do its job, whatever. And the doctor comes back and she's like, well, your hemoglobin is so high that we don't have a case for a DNC. So we're just going to send you home with the pill and you could bleed out a ton at home and you'd be completely fine. And we're going to have you come back in a few days for an ultrasound. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't really like the sound of that, but all right. Like, I guess I have to do what they're telling me to do. So we go get the prescription filled and we go home. And as soon as I get out of the car, like before I even took a pill, I'm back to like shedding chunks coming out of me. Call the doctor again. All right, is this normal? Yes, it's normal. You know, your uterus is already doing its job. Should I still take the pill? Yes, still take the pill. So I'm like, okay. And something told me, I know this was from God. Something said, do not take that pill until your parents arrive. Because they were already on their way back to Wilmington from Raleigh to like help me that night because they knew I wasn't going to be feeling well. So I did not take that next pill until they got to our house. And then all evening, I just was super uncomfortable. Like, I mean, I never wished this feeling on anybody, like with the amount of stuff that was coming out of me into like a diaper at that point. And by like 9 o'clock in the evening, I got up to go to the bathroom and change my pads and everything. And I felt three at a time, like three at once, just huge ones drop
Ugh.
out of me. And I knew I was going to pass out. And I somehow had the wherewithal to call for my mom because I knew she was the closest to the bathroom and my husband was
Okay.
holding my baby. So I said, Mom, I'm going to pass out. And the next thing I remember is like coming to on my toilet and they're like smacking me with a towel, trying to get me to stay awake. And I'm trying to remember what just happened and like why I can't keep my eyes open. And my husband's standing in front of me with the baby, just like white as a ghost, like so scared about what to do. And I remember I just kept passing out. And then I'd wake up and I'd pass out again. And I remember thinking, like, what has happened? Why can't I stay awake? Why is this so
Okay.
hard? And I kind of was still there a little bit, conscious here and there, because I remember hearing my mom start praying out loud, like, Lord, please let her be okay. They thought I was going to die. And I hear them like call for the ambulance and, give them our address. And within like a few minutes, thankfully, we live really close to a EMT. My house is like crowded with a ton of men and firemen. And it took them a while. They couldn't even get a blood pressure reading on me. Like it was gone,
Oh my
blood pressure
gosh.
gone. They're asking me my name and how old I am and what's going on. And somehow I got lucid enough to stay awake during the ambulance ride. And at the time, again, this is COVID, so they do not let my husband come with me, do not let the baby come with me. They say everyone has to, stay here. Husband can follow us in the ambulance and we'll call him when we know more or whatever.
Mhm.
So they got me to the ER. And again, I'm like somehow stable. They're giving me fluids and everything to keep my blood pressure up and keep me awake. And they don't call Jordan, my husband, for like a few hours.
Oh
So
my
he was in the
gosh.
parking lot thinking that he could have lost me. Like nobody gave him an update. And the doctor that I saw earlier that day comes in and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like I would have never sent you home if I would have known this was going to happen." And I was like, "Yeah,
Ugh.
exactly. I asked you to have this surgery hours ago and you sent me home and this is the result of it." I was so upset. And so I end up getting the emergency DNC that I asked for earlier that day and have to spend the night in the hospital by myself without my baby. No one even brought me a pump until like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Ugh.
And then I went home after that and it just, thankfully I healed well and like everything turned out okay. But I just think of all the what ifs
Mhm.
and that's terrifying. It shaped my entire like entry into motherhood because I lost so much trust in my providers and like the system. I wasn't confident being by myself. Like I was scared I was just gonna pass out at any point. I'd make my
Mhm.
husband like stand outside the shower with me because I was scared I was just gonna go down.
Yeah.
My breastfeeding journey was essentially sabotaged because, you know, breast milk is made from your blood and I had
Mhm.
nothing left really. And so I tried really, really hard for like 8 weeks to get my supply up. I thought, okay, maybe now that my body knows I'm not pregnant anymore, now that this placenta is out of my body, it'll kick in and I'll be able to breastfeed. And I lost so much weight super quickly. I was like pale as a ghost, had no like muscle tone left. And eventually I said, I can't do this anymore. Like we just need a feed formula. I don't think I'm
Yeah.
ever going to be able to fully heal if I don't make this decision. But that was a really tough pill to swallow because it felt like it was something that was like taken from me that I
Mhm.
didn't have a say in. So all that just to
Mhm.
say, I that winter did a doula training because it just made me realize like all of the holes in our system and the gaps in the way that new moms are cared for. Like my doulas at the time weren't like really hands-on, but having someone to talk to and like bounce these things off of and help you advocate for yourself and remind you of what's normal and what's not
Mhm.
was so key for me. And I just wanted, if I could do anything in my career to prevent something like that from happening again for somebody else, or just be able to like have what I wish that I had for somebody
Yeah.
else. That's what I wanted to do. So I got certified in 2021, like that January, and I only take on a few births each year because, I have 2 little ones at home
Yeah.
and I have this like thriving photography business. So going on call is not always like the easiest thing to do,
Mhm.
but it's so special and so sacred. And I love the work so much. And I think being a doula and getting to experience birth for other women and like be in the room and invited into that space and having the emotional and educational background in that way has helped me in every other aspect of my business too,
Mhm.
because I'm working with moms no matter with them at their birth or not, right? I'm working with them after they have fresh newborns. I'm working with them while they're still pregnant for their maternity session. And so I just want them to feel seen and supported, and we can have these conversations. And I want to be more than just like someone taking their picture. I
Mhm.
want them to know that it means something to me just as much as to them. So that's the long version of answering your question.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
'Cause that's not I feel like my heart just goes out to you, and to think that there are so many first-time moms that are going through that, and it just kinda breaks my heart
It's
for you and for
insane
everybody.
how many moms during that time, I shared about it and I had so many messages of that happening, some very similar stories happening to other women. And since then, it was almost 6 years ago, I can't even tell you how many people have told me they had the exact same experience. And it's
Oh,
mind blowing. I'm like, why? This should
wow.
not be the case whatsoever.
No, I don't understand how I think maybe I just got so lucky with my midwife practice and my births and everything that I I think I just have been because I've heard about that, like people having to like, really advocate for their care and really like kind of push back on interventions and not being listened to. And I feel like that's why it's so important to do your research, I guess. And because not everybody's lucky. Not everybody just gets a good practice and has midwives and doctors that are really overly careful and really advocating for you and looking out for you.
100%.
Oh,
That's why I get so frustrated on like the internet and social media sometimes because I think the whole like the pendulum can swing too far to either side, right? Like in the whole like natural birth crunchy world and then like the super over medicalized world. And like I kind of fall somewhere in the middle now because I
yeah.
know that there's so much nuance, especially as a doula and someone that's been around all sorts of experiences now. But what really irks me is when people make fun of like plans or birth preferences or the moms who do want to have a mostly hands-off experience because I'm like,
Mhm.
it's not about planning your birth to a meticulous T because we all know that's not possible. Like it's all
Mhm.
in the Lord's hands when it comes down to it.
Mhm.
But the process of making that preference sheet and doing your research and learning about, hey, A, B, and C could happen. So how do you
Yeah.
want to handle that? Like, where would your brain go if this comes up? So that moms can feel like they have more of a say in the experience, or even if things go completely opposite of what they'd hoped, they can at least feel like
Have
they
some
had
control.
some control or that they've all like gotten a
Mhm.
chance to think through those what ifs before and it's not as like traumatic, you know?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
doing that research and advocating for yourself and having those hopes. And,
Mhm.
I don't really believe in like manifestation, but I do believe in like the power of the mindset. And you do have to
Yeah.
go into a mindset of like, I will do this. I will be okay. These are my options. I am
Mhm.
safe. I think that does play into your
Mhm.
birth experience and, what your mind is telling your body it's going to react to as well. So, anyway, that's like my little soapbox moment. I think women should be more encouraged to do all of that versus, hey, if you wanna go in,
Mhm.
like, ignorance is bliss and that's like, you're someone that feels safer in that way and all the other what ifs would scare you, like, I fully understand that, but I think there's so much power in just knowledge.
Mhm.
Yeah, knowing your options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how I went in with Phoebe was the ignorance is bliss, but I also felt like I was super young and I didn't have any friends that had babies yet, and it's like you're
Sure.
going off your mom's experience, your sister's experience, and I remember thinking, is there really no sort of education for me before I go into this? Can y'all
Mhm.
hear me? Sorry, my
Yeah,
computer's freezing.
we
Yeah,
can
okay,
hear
I
you.
just wanna make
You're
sure.
just a little
Oh, okay,
frozen.
sorry. But I remember thinking there was no sort of education. For some reason, I thought that would come from the OB or the
Yeah.
hospital. And social media, there wasn't like a bunch of the accounts that there are now that kind of help
Mhm.
women to educate with that. But I remember thinking with Phoebe, like, I want someone here to make a decision outside of my husband because he's a man. You know, if if things were to go the other way,
Mhm.
what do we do? So
Mhm.
I think that's really special that you're taking the experience that you had and you're doing something really good with it and helping women. And you do seem really connected to moms
Mhm.
in all aspect of your life, which is awesome to see.
Thank you. Thanks for saying
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I'm definitely someone that's like, if I can do something about it, I'm gonna do it. Even if I can't
Mhm.
big of an impact as I would dream of, like if I can do anything at all, you bet your bottom I will.
Well,
Mhm.
you are. You're
Yeah,
making such
even if
an
it's
impact.
talking about it.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
So, I guess on the kind of the flip side, birth can come with so much trauma, and you are actively helping people try to avoid that as much as possible. But it's also one of the most beautiful things in the entire world. And so, can you just like talk a little bit? Because the only way I can explain birth for me is that it was such like a spiritual experience. Um, would you agree? Like, what's it like for you and to experience other people's births?
It's 100% spiritual for me. I know not every single person feels that way, and especially,
Mhm.
like, some people have experiences that are really traumatic or really
Yeah.
fast, and they don't even have a second to, like, process what's going on before there's a baby in their hands, so I understand that's gonna look different for everybody, but as a lifelong Christian, like, I think going through birth was the closest I ever felt to the Lord and, like, that veil thinning of, like, "Oh my gosh, there is literally life coming out of me right now and into this world," and I never take that lightly when I'm in that birth space and seeing other women do it. It's like, it just never gets old. It's the coolest thing ever, and getting to sort of be, like, a fly on the wall watching a mom
Mhm.
reach down for her baby and, like, looking at the dad and seeing the emotions overcome him, or maybe, like, he needs a second to process what's just happened. Um, yeah, it's beautiful. I love it every single time. It's such a gift to get to be there and experience it.
Yeah. Do you also do birth photography or no? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I married the 2 things together because I was like, "Well, if I'm gonna be there, I'm a photographer, I might as well,
Yeah.
like, photograph it." I wished at the time when I had my first, I was able to have a birth photographer, but during COVID, you
Mhm.
could only have a doula and your support person, and that's it. And so I was like, it would have been really cool if I could have a 2 for 1 where, less
Yeah.
bodies in the room and one person that I've grown to love and trust. I would love to have that, to be that for somebody else. And
Yeah.
I do remember, like, when I did my certification, um, I kind of was met with a little hesitation about that, or like a little pushback that, well, it's gonna be really hard to do both, and, you need to be really, like, hands-on as a doula, and I was like, "Well, alright, challenge accepted." Like, I feel
Yeah.
like I can 100% do both in this scenario, and I tell my families, "Listen, there are gonna be moments where you need doula Chelsea way more than you need photographer Chelsea, and I will be able to understand that and step in and put my camera down. But if I'm doing my job right as a doula, there's also gonna be plenty of moments where you and your husband or your partner are in this moment together while I'm just kind of like on the sidelines guiding you. And that's when I'm usually stepping back and taking photographs. And then, when they're more needing me hands-on in like the tougher moments where they need a pep talk or they need the counter pressure on their back, I'm not really worried about holding my camera then. And
Yeah.
most of the time it works out in this flow, right? Where there's like some quietness, I'm snapping. There's the intense where I'm like hardcore doula. And then once baby starts to be at a point where like we're pushing, I pick up my camera again, because at that point there's like more people in the room. Dad's
Yeah.
usually up at mom's face holding her hands, doctors around, and I can kind of step back and yes, like voice my encouragement, but it's very easy for me to step back and like photograph those first moments of
Yeah.
being born.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've been able to, I think, balance it in a way that makes sense. And I think we just keep the communication open so that they know, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be photographing every second, and I'm not going to be like hands on every second either. And they know that they can like voice if they need me for more in one way than another, but that's rarely the case.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. It like makes me want, I don't know if for sure I'm going to have another, but I have two. And so, oh gosh, if I do, I definitely want like a birth photographer. And
I
it's
know.
just so cool. I didn't have that with my first two, and I didn't have a doula either. I just kind of
Yeah.
went for it.
Winged it.
I did
Yeah.
have the first with my daughter. I did do Bradley method classes because I
Yeah.
really wanted to have a natural, like non-medicated birth. And then I got diagnosed with preeclampsia and ended up having to be induced, and that Pitocin.
It's
No,
no
I was like,
joke.
no. And my blood pressure just shot up so bad,
Yeah.
like so bad it was. And they were like, we kind of either have to try an epidural or we're going to have to probably do a C-section. And I was like,
Yeah.
the
At that
epidural me up. Like, I do not want a C-section.
Yeah.
And I was able to deliver her vaginally, which was great. But it was great. And then I loved that. It was a great experience for me. I was so blessed. And so then with my second, I was like, epidural me up. Like, I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it
Sometimes
wasn't
it
as
can
good
be.
as a epidural. I was very numb. Like with my daughter, I could still lift up my legs.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
the thing that's like hit or miss with it, is you can't really predict how it's gonna hit. Yeah.
How it's gonna
But
affect you.
I'm not
Mhm.
like anti them at all. I think it's a great option for most
Yeah.
moms. Um, and sometimes it is that tool that kind of gets you to the finish line in a situation like yours, especially. So I think some people don't understand, like, oh, doulas are for like home births or like unmedicated only. And I'm like, no, not at all.
No,
Like I,
they're just like a birth advocate for you. Like
yeah,
a
yeah,
partner.
Mhm.
Especially too, like it would have been so nice to have a doula with, I mean, I love my husband to death, but he's just not like,
yeah,
like you don't want to have to
yeah.
explain. Even during some of the classes, I remember he'd be like, okay, wait, what do I need to do? What's the counter pressure? Like, so
Mhm.
it's a whole
There's
thing.
something
So
about just like having the presence of another female in the space, especially one who has
Mhm.
experienced what you're going through,
yeah, that's like
to just,
educated.
yeah, who just
Mhm.
has that like, you don't even have to say anything. You just know that they're understanding you. And I
Yeah.
think having
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
present in general is super helpful. Cause yeah, dads are like, of course they're not going to know what to do. Like that,
Yeah.
this is a lot of times their first time going through it. And even with
Mhm.
subsequent babies, it can be different every single time. It's a lot of pressure on them
I
to
know.
know how to like comfort you. And that's what I always tell my family is like, I think a lot of the dads think, well, are you going to like replace my role? And I'm like, no, 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 opposite. I want to be able to enhance it so that you can just be husband, dad, be in her face,
Yeah.
holding her hands, like brushing her hair, telling her how much you love her and how amazing she's doing. And you don't have to worry about the counter pressure all the time or what position she should
Yeah.
try if she's in a lot of pain or how to navigate these big decisions that might come up along the way. You guys can do that together without
Mhm.
the pressure of like having all that in your back pocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh Oh, I love that. Sorry, Rebecca, I totally went rogue with our questions.
No, you're fine. My computer is like going in and
Oh
out.
no. Okay.
So that's why I haven't been contributing a lot, but it's okay. I didn't want to like say anything and it
No, of
pause.
course. Yeah. No, you're
And
fine.
um are you comfortable with briefly sharing as I hate saying briefly, but are you comfortable with sharing the
Yeah.
miscarriage
Yeah. Absolutely.
stories?
Um, so
Yeah.
I've now experienced 2 losses, in between each of my pregnancies pretty much at this point. So I had my son, and then the summer after I had him, we started trying again, got pregnant right away, like, we were shocked. We didn't try with him, and so we thought, "Oh, well, this could take us a little bit." Like, we didn't really try with him,
Mhm.
so we don't know, it could take us 6 months or whatever. And it was like first try, we were like, "Whoa, okay." He was like 10 months old, and we weren't really
You're like,
expecting that.
well,
Yeah. And sadly, I went in for that first appointment and baby had stopped growing at like 5 weeks and
oh,
change or something like that. And I was terrified because I had just experienced this like bleeding at home,
yeah.
a year before that. And so I was like, I kind of want to just have a DNC again. Like, I'm really scared to go home and bleed out. And they're like, well,
Mm.
it could just still be too early. So we're going to let you go home and we'll do another ultrasound next week. And then then we can decide, which really upset me because I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I had lost that baby. I was like, if I took a pregnancy test at this point in time, I should be like over 8 weeks or 9 weeks or something. There's no way that's just early. I wouldn't have tested positive that early.
Mhm.
So I knew in my heart, but I also just felt a lot of peace about it. Like I went to the ocean that day by myself with my Bible and my journal, and I just knew, like he told me, your story's not over. It's not
Yeah.
over. And unfortunately, I started bleeding, I think like a couple nights later. It was like a Friday into the weekend and was able to miscarry naturally. It scared me a lot because I had a lot of
Yeah.
PTSD come back
Trauma.
up. Yeah. But thankfully it all went, as smoothly as it could, I guess. And a few months later, we got pregnant with my daughter, Irie, and my due date was the exact day that I lost the other baby. So
Oh,
that was just one of those like, okay, Lord, I trusted
little
you.
God
And
wink.
yeah, and it was always meant to
Mhm.
be her. And I was due August August 15th with her, August 16th with my son. So their birthdays are like exactly 2 years apart, which is wild. They're August
Oh
5th
my
and August 8th.
gosh.
We've had double birthday parties since they've been born. Um, and then let's see, fall of 2024, we unexpectedly got pregnant. We had always like talked about a third, but we didn't ever really make that decision consciously.
Mhm.
Um, Unexpectedly got pregnant and went in for that 8-week appointment, and same scenario, except that time there was a baby, could see it, and the heartbeat had stopped like literally the day before my ultrasound. And at the time we were going through a lot, personally, and I was probably like one of our lowest seasons. And so that on top of everything was a really hard blow. But again, like I still felt a lot of peace about it. It took a while for my body to fully like kick back in. I had to go for blood work for like 11 weeks um, in order to not test positive on pregnancy tests again. But in that time, my husband and I were like back and forth for a long time. Like, are we going to have a third? Are we going to move houses? Are we going to renovate the house that we're in? We were kind of in that like, what is our next step here
Mhm.
for quite some time. And I think that pregnancy made us realize, okay, if we're going to have this third baby, especially, we need to get out of this house. We want a neighborhood with like more of a village, kids around for our children, more space, less work. We were in like an older 70s build where we were just constantly stressed with things that needed to be done at all times.
Mhm.
And so we made the conscious decision, we're going to leave, we're going to get a fresh start. And so we signed a contract on the house that we're in now and ended up getting ours ready to put on the market. It sold within like 4 days. And last May, we moved into this home. And so everything that has transpired, I know was the Lord leading us in this, like, to make these decisions, because this has been the best thing for us, like being in this house, being in this neighborhood, the community that it's brought, what it's brought to our children's lives, like our lives. I could go on, and I know we don't have time for it. And I wrestled in my brain for a really long time with like, okay, are we going to have a third? At this point, our kids are about to be 4 and 6. I was like white knuckling the timing and thinking of like all of the what ifs. And I spent probably like the last year wrestling with that mentally until I finally reached a point where I was like fully open palms. Okay, Lord, if this is our family, that it's enough. Like, they are miracles. I am so happy and content with these 2 babies. I always pictured it differently, but if this is it for us, like, that is okay in my heart. And that is, of course, when he decided we're not done. And we unexpectedly got pregnant with number 3. So
Of course.
here we are. Yeah.
That's so exciting.
I love it. Yeah, I'm
so happy for you
Thank you.
guys.
When are you due?
November 2nd.
Oh, not another August baby?
Another August baby. I would have loved another August baby. Honestly, I loved it. I loved it so much. Yeah, I've never gone to my due date, so I'm kind of like, will it be October? Will it be November? I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, that'll be
Yeah.
awesome, though.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to an end of our first like season of the podcast, and the word has been surrender. And so we've been asking every guest, what does surrender look like to you? What does it mean to you, especially in motherhood?
I feel like, I know it's kind of cliche, but like that fully open palm to the Lord for me is surrender. Like, he's taught it to me so many times throughout my motherhood journey, from what I went through after Silas to my miscarriages to I was supposed to have a home birth and this like redemptive experience with my second, and then she ended up being a breech baby and I had a C-section.
Oh. Yeah.
That there's just been so many times where he's like, hey, I know better than you. And time and time again, like I don't always understand it in the moment. It may be like the craziest turmoil of my life, but he's just continued to show me over and over that his plans are always better.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I had one more
Yeah.
question really quickly. If there's another woman listening to your story right now, which thank you so much for sharing everything that you did, what would you say to her if she's feeling unseen or scared or all the feelings, or feeling loss or trauma?
Don't be afraid. Don't feel ashamed to be vulnerable and ask for support. I mean, talking about it and sharing about it was extremely healing for me. Having like a supportive village, maybe it doesn't even have to be in the most like conventional way. Going to therapy helped tremendously as well. I think we don't have to sit in it forever. It doesn't have to feel this way forever. It does take a little bit of work, but what's waiting for you on the other side is so much better, and you will get through it.
I love that. Do you have some resources that you recommend moms, or things that we could maybe put in the show notes?
Or like just in general?
Just like general birth education kind of stuff.
So birth education wise, my like favorite podcast and go-to podcast is Down to Birth. I don't know if you've ever listened to it.
No.
The 2 women that host it actually played like really big parts in my postpartum with my second. One of them, they're up north. They're based out of Connecticut, but one of them was the moderator and leader of a postpartum support group that I joined after I had my daughter. I was kind of navigating like all that happened and having a C-section and all that kind of stuff. And then her co-host is an IBCLC and a home birth midwife.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so she was my lactation consultant with my daughter. and were just incredible resources for me. But they have amazing guests on. They talk about really awesome topics, kind of dive a little deeper into the things that you don't really often hear about. So I recommend all my mom friends and all my clients to listen to it. I promise you, it's like such a wealth of knowledge.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll put that down in the
That's
show
great.
notes. Well, Chelsea, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for coming on and sharing your story and being vulnerable. And it's just so like we're so honored to have you on and just hear everything.
Thank you. Thanks for having me and thinking of me for this.
Of course.
Thanks for being here with us today. If something resonated, maybe a sentence, a silence, or a story, hold on to that. If you felt seen or stirred or simply curious, we hope you'll join us again. Until then, stay open, stay tender, and remember, there's always a seat for you at the table.